Greetings, Stars fans, and welcome to the Two Brothers Mic'd Up Show extended version going into round 2. Stars play the St. Louis Blues in game 1. If you didn't know, what we do is we go back, look back at the recent Dallas Stars game, give our thoughts and discussion on it for you right here on YouTube. Usually each video starts with predictions and scores of what we thought the winning team was going to do. But since we didn't know who we were going to play, we gave a prediction on who we thought we were going to play. Quinn, you said who you wanted and who you thought it was going to be, and you both said St. Louis. I said I wanted Chicago, but I had a feeling it was going to be St. Louis. So when it comes down to it, we get St. Louis. How'd you feel about that and how the Stars match up?
I mean, hell, their playoff history goes back to like the old days, back in the 90s. Like it seemed like all we ever played was St. Louis, Colorado, and Edmonton in the playoffs.
And we had to go through St. Louis to get to the Cup.
Yep. And so there's always good playoff history there, you know. But this is a whole different St. Louis Blues team. Honestly, I think they're a hell of a lot better nowadays than they were back in the day. But, I mean, the one thing that worried me was the physicality. How the Stars were going to match up against it, and how they were going to try and use that against them. Were they going to try and kill them by speed and make them, like, just tire themselves out trying to hit them? But, I mean, I wanted St. Louis and Dallas to play against each other just because I think it'd be a great series.
Yeah, for entertainment value, I think the physical nature of the Rock being St. Louis and just that sheer speed, offensive pressure that's just a stallion that the Stars are going up against each other. This would be the series that everybody would want. I wanted Chicago just because I wanted the Stars to really go through the best. But since St. Louis beat Chicago, I mean, you kind of have to consider them one of the best teams. Granted, they finished 2 points behind us, so Dallas is technically the better team through the regular season. But beating Chicago, granted it having to go to 7 games and the way they did it, you can't take lightly St. Louis. This is going to be a much deeper team than we saw against Minnesota. And with that, we see one of the headlines going into this game. Moen is in for the second straight game. Nichushkin is out for the second straight game. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good move. I mean, sure, it would have been great to have Nichushkin come back in to see if he can rebound after having an off series. But, I mean, Nichushkin just doesn't have that physical grit against him in his game. When you're playing the St. Louis Blues, you want all hands on deck for physicality. And Moen definitely brings some added grit to that fourth line. You know, he plays hard every night. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him take a night off, just because he knows, like, this is his role. So, I mean, you're automatically going to get 100% out of him, and he's a physical player, which is what the Stars need.
Exactly. You always hear about St. Louis's depth when it comes to physicality. They have their Ott, they have Brodziak, they have Reeves, who has been the pest for the Stars over the season. I thought it was a little weird that Reeves was out of this game because I just thought he was really effective against the Stars in the season series, and they elect to go with a little more speed on the fourth line with who was it, Upshaw that's on the fourth line with them? Okay. So they elect to go with a little more speed, I guess, to try to match the speed of what the Stars can bring on all four lines. The start of the game, not exactly how you wanted the game to start. Well, I take that back. The first 10 minutes over that time period, the Stars looked pretty nervous. But at the very start of the game with Brian Elliott clearing the puck over the glass, that's exactly how you want to start the game. But then exactly a minute later, Jamie Benn takes a boneheaded penalty, just cross-checks one of the St. Louis Blues players, negates that power play. That was the change of momentum that the St. Louis Blues needed, because the Stars all season have not been a good 4-on-4 team. And that was that little boost that they got for that first 10 minutes. They spent a lot of time in our zone. Stars couldn't really get clears, and if they were, it was just icings. Stars were playing a little nervous. But then I think the Stars kind of started to figure out how St. Louis was going to play against them in this game. Granted, I doubt the same structure is going to go into Game 2, but it really looked as if a light bulb kind of went off, and Dallas was like, okay, this is how they are going to come at us. I think it got referenced last night with boxing, is that, you take a couple of hits, you realize where they're going to come from, and you counter it. I thought Dallas's counter was really well. Their transition started really good. Their neutral zone was really good. And they did have, throughout the game, there was some careless passing and some bad clears out of their zone. But granted, that's been Dallas hockey all season. You take the bad with the extremely good that they can do. Going off into how did you see Dallas's game adapting to how St. Louis was coming at them?
I think you said it the best. Like, my opinion, the physicality game that they had in this one, if they played the whole season like this, I feel like they would have just dominated the standings.
Yeah, we probably would have beat out.
Washington wouldn't have even had a chance.
Exactly.
I'm talking like 60 game winning streak, or not winning streak, but like wins
yeah.
and all that stuff. But I mean, it was definitely a good change to see in them. My only concern with that is that I don't want them to play over physical and start making the little mental mistakes that you could see were happening in this game, where the constant clearing, constant icing, the little chip passes that St. Louis just pounced on, just kept them in our zone. And another thing is Dallas going to be able to keep up this physical kind of pace for the rest of the series? Because, that's not really their game. If they can keep it up, cool. Move on to the next round. I feel they'll get the win out if they can keep it up. But if it's already starting to, doubt that they can keep up the physical, it's time to change the game plan today.
Yeah, no, I completely agree that can Dallas keep up this physical nature? But I also think going up against Minnesota, I think it kind of proved to Dallas that they're just really not the wimpy kind of just all-out offense. I think it did show that Dallas does have a bit of grit. It did show, I think, the physical nature that the Minnesota series kind of boosted that confidence for Dallas to go into St. Louis. Granted, it took them about 10 minutes to get knocked around, but when Dallas realized that, they can do the exact same thing that St. Louis can, maybe not to the level that they can, but know that they can hit and get hit and it not really, back them down too much. I think it really hit that light switch to where they started to realize that, okay, we can go with these guys and we're going to play them straight up. And I liked that approach. Lindy Ruff during the game said that they're going to take a sledgehammer approach to it. It kind of just seems like they saw the dam and they said, we're just going to plow right through it. Instead of plowing around the stump, they're just going to split that thing right in half and they're going to go right through it. The first period, it did have its ups and downs. It was very much a tale of two different games. St. Louis started off, I think St. Louis was riding that high that they got from Chicago. They wanted to come in with their big poofy tails and say, look at us, we beat Chicago. And then towards the middle of the frame, Dallas was like, Who cares? We still finished ahead of you. We are considered still the better team in the standings because we're in Dallas right now. It did seem as if they were not impressed with St. Louis, and that's pretty much what I loved about this whole game. Going into the second period, halfway through, we get Roussel getting his goal off of, you know what? I know we always kind of rag on Antoine Roussel. You know, his passing could be a bit better. His decision-making could be a bit better. But his decision to take the puck up the boards, stop, scan the ice, hit that pass over, and then have them pass it back to Foxa and Roussel go to the front of the net, that has to be the best decision-making I'd ever seen from Roussel on that. Talk about what you like about that third line.
I mean, their third line is basically acting like a second line on any other team right now. And that's exactly what pays into dividends with Dallas's offense. You know, they can get scoring from all four lines. More of it comes from the top two. But I think Foxa, I feel, has already established himself as a NHLer for the rest of his life for Dallas. I don't see him going back down next season or anything like that because I think he has finally found his game. He's settled down. I don't feel like he has the rookie mentality where it's like, well, if I make a mistake, you know, this could happen. I think he's just going and not thinking about anything but scoring goals, playing physical, winning face-offs, which is what this team needs right now from him.
He's playing very much as if he's saying to himself, I belong here. And in the post-game interview where Ruff was addressing the media, you can tell, like, Lindy Ruff is ecstatic with how Foxa has turned into this dependable player, to turn into this reliable third-line center, which right now he's not playing like a third-line center. I think any other team would kill to have him as a second center behind a line, especially with his face-off percentage. He's really good at that. And he does a lot of the gritty things that you want from your grinder line, pretty much. They go to the front of the net. And the thing about that I like is that Hemsky has really turned his defensive game around as well. He's not a real big liability out there, and he's actually making plays. Roussel and Foxa has really rubbed off on Hemsky, and I think Hemsky has really found a good role. Like, right now, I have no problem keeping Hemsky with us for the next couple of seasons if that line stays together and they keep playing the way they are.
They complement each other so well. I mean, you got Hemsky, who's the skill player on the team, or on the line. You got Foxa, the two-way center that's going to play defensive. He can score goals. He can hit. And like we said, his excellent face-off percentage. And then you got Roussel that's just going to go out there and try to hit anything that moves. I mean, that right there is what you want with line chemistry, you know. Because Roussel's going to clear the path. Fox is going to make the dish to Hemsky, like you saw on his goal. Just a beautiful pass. Hemsky takes it, using his skill. Fox is there to clean up.
Yeah.
I mean, what more do you want out of a line?
No, it's absolutely true that Roussel really does make the opposition kind of pay attention to him, because Roussel just now has that reputation that 2 or 3 players are going to kind of focus on him, whether they do it actively or it's like kind of a subconscious thing. They always want to know where he is on the ice because they want to punish him because of the brand and style that he has set up for himself in the NHL. Foxa, I think Foxa flies great under the radar. You don't really notice him all that much, and that's a great thing. Hemsky, you notice, because he does have those flashy little dangles that he does. I mean, it's very much a la Spezza, not on the level of Spezza, but Hemsky will go out there and dangle a couple of people. He will go out there with his speed and drive, like you said, on Fox's goal. I mean, that whole second period, you had to feel really good with how Dallas, with their chances for the series, is going to be. The second period is exactly what people are going to pay to see. It was fast, hard hitting, a lot of chances. Goaltenders were playing out of their minds. This right here, comparable to what Washington and Pittsburgh are doing. Like, Washington and Pittsburgh are the powerhouses in the East right now. You got the two powerhouses. This is the series besides Washington, because I think everybody's got their eyes on Washington to see what Ovi's going to do. But this is the series that you want to watch if you're just a general hockey fan.
Mm-hmm.
That second period will sell tickets alone. Going into the third period, the Stars keep up that pace. They keep it up. Granted, there's a little bit of sloppiness to the game, but again, that's just how it's been. You know, it's very much reminiscent to how the Minnesota series was. Dallas controls a lot of the play, but Minnesota is going to push back. St. Louis is going to be no different, but yet I think their pushback is going to look a little more concerning to Stars fans when they're watching it because of just how well they can do it. But all around, Dallas was controlling a lot of this game.
Yeah, especially whenever, like, Tarasenko, I definitely liked how the Stars pretty much held him either shotless or maybe he had one shot on net. But
it says he had 3, but I think a lot of that comes towards the end of the game where they're kind of just blitzing.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like anytime he touched the puck, there was a Stars defenseman or a Stars forward just in his face, just because we know what Tarasenko can do to our goalies, much less the whole NHL's goalies. He's a good player, and that's a great way to play him, just in his face. Don't give him any space.
Yeah, you could definitely tell, and I noticed Goligoski doing it a lot. He would close the gap in on Tarasenko a lot. And what you said says it perfectly is that you kind of really didn't know that Tarasenko was out there, but yet he had over 21 minutes on the ice. And if I would much rather have everybody else come at Kari than Tarasenko. Tarasenko is their sniper. He is their Tyler Seguin. I don't really... You might consider David Backes their Jamie Benn, but he's not as skilled as Jamie Benn. But Tarasenko is their Tyler Seguin. And if you can kind of key him out and let everyone else try to beat you, I think that's exactly the game plan that I think Dallas wants to implement. But then again, we see in the third period Shattenkirk just unloading that bomb. It did seem like Kari was kind of swimming a little bit in his crease, not really settling down.
It doesn't help that Demers is standing right in front of him.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that St. Louis has a great defense. That's the thing about this team. Minnesota's defense is certainly not as deep. I think Minnesota's defense was faster, but definitely not as skilled as St. Louis, and they're going to get their chances. The thing about it is don't stand in front of your own goalie. Don't make yourself a door instead of a window. You really kind of need to move so Kari can see those point shots. I'd much rather a point shot come in all the way in on him and him try to make a save. I think, what is it? Like 90% of the time Kari's going to make that save, if not more. So try not to just stand in front of your goalie. But then again, I really liked how the defense was playing in this game. It was very up and down, but they still were pretty much poised in their zone. Granted, they did get a little hectic, a little nervous. Johns had a couple of plays where he just kind of throws it out in the middle of the net, but he had enough composure to come back and clear it out whenever it looked like there was about to be mass chaos going on. And I really liked the way Demers played in this game. He had 2 really good chances off of the rush. He had one in the second period where he bats one out of the air, where Elliott's pad kind of just had to have been there for him to save it. I think it very much just a reflex from Elliott, just kind of just throw your leg out there to make sure you can try to get something on. And then he had another one in the third period where Spezza does a toe drag, dumps it off over across the crease to Demers. I mean, you want to see Demers get those chances, especially the high chances that they were. It's not just like, oh, okay, you know, he had a technically good chance, but no, these were great chances. You want to see him cash in on those. Janmark had another great couple of chances. I think he had a post in the second, and then Elliott with a fantastic glove save on him in the third. That's the thing about this Dallas team. A lot of people thought, oh, we're just the St. Louis defense, and their overall defensive-minded structure that Ken Hitchcock puts in is going to suffocate Dallas. They're not going to get the chances that they have. They rattle off 42 shots on Elliott. But that's also another headline of the game. Brian Elliott could very much have stolen this game. But when we were talking during the game, let him make those saves, but as long as one of them beats him and your goalie is standing on his head, that's all that it matters. There are no style points here in the playoffs. As long as you get one more than the other team, that's all that matters. And that's what proved to be the point. Dallas gets a goal from Faksa. Great breakout, transitioning through the neutral zone. Faksa dishes it off to Hemsky. Hemsky makes the heads-up play to say, instead of just cranking a shot from the boards, he's going to drive in. And that's the thing that we were talking about, Hemsky, and how him picking up on what Faksa and Roussel are doing is that they're crashing the net. I think it was Brouwer that was skating back, but doesn't really pick up Faksa, and Faksa just says, I'm going straight to the front of the net because I see Hemsky cutting in. There it is. Licking the gravy. Putting the puck in. Stars are now up 2-1 with about 5 minutes left in the game. You know, Kari had to play pretty much out of his mind in this game. Like, St. Louis was getting their chances too. I don't think they were as dangerous as the Stars' chances were. As the game ends, where do you see the Stars taking their game? Do you see them making any kind of changes? Or do you think they kind of just stay the course and try to see what St. Louis brings to them next one?
I mean, don't fix it if it's not broken. I feel that they should keep the way that they're playing into next game because it obviously worked. St. Louis is obviously going to change their way. And, I mean, it's going to be another one of those things where you're going to be filling each other out and you just got to weather the storm. So, I honestly feel like this series is going to be a battle of the goalies and defense. I don't think it's going to be a super high scoring games. I think a majority of the games are going to be decided 2-1, 3-2. You know,
I agree. I
foresee a couple overtimes, just because. I mean, these goalies. If these goalies how they played is any indication how the series is going to go, I am going to love this series.
Yeah, I definitely foresee a couple more 1-goal games. Absolutely. The way the goaltenders are playing, Elliott was playing out of his mind, but he had to. Elliott had to play that way to keep St. Louis in this game. The score, I mean, if the if both goalies were on average, I think the score still would have been like 8-5 for Dallas. I just think their scoring chances were so much better than St. Louis's chances. I didn't think a lot of the 32 shots that Kari faced were all too dangerous, like Elliott shot. And the things that stand out about this game is, we talked about the physicality. Stars out-hit St. Louis. The Stars got on their horse and just rode through them. And they had more takeaways from St. Louis, so they were pressuring St. Louis a lot, not really giving them the chance to do a lot of things. St. Louis wins in the face-offs. I think, for that first 10 minutes, I don't think Dallas won a single face-off. It just looked like they were not going to win much. Dallas made it a little bit closer towards the middle of the game. I think they were only behind by 2. I think it was 17-15 going towards the third period. But St. Louis really kind of controlled that a lot. But I think Dallas was okay with it. Dallas did have 14 giveaways to St. Louis's 9 giveaways. But then again, Dallas controlled the play in this game. So that's going to happen. But since they were controlling a lot of the play, you would think Dallas would get out-hit. I think Dallas, you could not say any more positive things about this game than we already have. I loved the way they played. Yes, they had some sloppy parts, and you could tell that they were being frustrated. The only bad thing that I didn't like is that the Stars cannot just let these power plays go to waste. Against St. Louis, you have to score. If you're given 2 power plays, you need to score at least 1. Dallas was relatively clean in that aspect. They only let St. Louis have 2 power plays. One from Cody Eakin, but I think Cody Eakin really needed to take that penalty. It was great seeing Moen step in with Ott. Ott is going to be that agitator, and Moen's going to try to police that as much as possible. So you don't take Moen out. I think he stays in. But with do you see any line changes coming next game? Maybe if Eves can't go.
I mean, if Eves is out, my personal, I just don't like Nichushkin in the playoffs anymore. He just has not shown me anything that makes me feel like we should keep him in. I'd rather call up McKenzie, because as some of y'all probably know, Texas got beat out of the Calder Cup last night.
So that's a lot of call-ups.
You got McKenzie, you got Richie, Ranford, all these players that I feel could step in besides him. I think Nichushkin just needs some time to figure out if he wants to play in the NHL anymore, because it doesn't seem like he does.
Yeah, the thing with the Texas Stars being out now, they can use those recalls, and they can call up a bunch of people, because last series with Minnesota, they had 12, 14 players scratched. Just like the St. Louis Blues, they called up 9 people from their minor league club, and they have 12 scratches. So you might expect some line changes for St. Louis, but I'll be interested to see if they do have some call-ups and if they do try to shuffle it out. If I would prefer Nichushkin not in and bring Richie back in. I love the way Richie played in his series, and I think he has a little more skill than McKenzie, and he does have that grit. So I would like him in. But if Eves, that is if Eves can't go. But if Eves can go, I want him in the lineup. So let's go into the ratings of this game. What did you rate it?
I gave it a B+, just because the power play was just awful. They got to do something move one player to a different unit, try and spark something. I don't know. They need to jumpstart that in a hurry.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. That was the only negative part that I just didn't like about the game. I liked, for my rating, a B plus as well. I wanted to go A minus, but you kind of have to take into account that little nervousness that they had at the beginning of the game. A little smarter plays with the pucks, trying to get it out of your zone, not just those careless like little slap aways from your goaltender. If you clean that up, it'll be a solid A from here on out, but they still have some work to do, and I think that's why it deserves a B plus. So in game 2, still here in Dallas, what kind of scores you got for that one?
Dallas needs to ride the high from this game. They need to just play the same game that you played in this one. Let the St. Louis Blues make their adjustments, and then let the coaching staff make their adjustments. But, I mean, I don't see St. Louis changing much, except maybe trying to play a faster pace. But I honestly feel it's going to be a low-scoring game, so I'll say 2-1 again for Dallas, or 2-1 for St. Louis.
I think Dallas works on a little couple of things here in practice. If Eves can't go, I expect someone to get put in. Hopefully not Nichushkin. But I do think they learn from this game, and if Dallas is going to come on top, I think the score is doubled up. I think with their chances that they had in this game, if they keep that up, I think they'll start burying more. So I'm going to go with a score of 4-2 with Dallas, and if St. Louis comes on top, I like a score of 3-2. So, with that is the discussion. Be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up to date. Hit the like button, leave any kind of feedback down below. Remember, this is a show for fans, by fans, and, as always, tune in next time.